Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 20 career mode here in Moto2. And we're actually here for the penultimate episode of Moto2 because obviously we've got Australia, then we've got Sepang in this episode, and then the next episode will be Valencia and sorting out the MotoGP team that we'll be riding for in the next season. Now I haven't decided what team it's going to be yet. Obviously it depends which teams are available after Valencia is done and on the run up to the end of the year, but we've got nothing to do, no notifications, so I'll see you after my lap in practice. So at the end of the free practice session then, we were fastest by almost 0.3 of a second, just about 2.5, just over that. And then Baldassarri was almost half a second behind us then in third place. Luthi in fourth, so Luthi seems to have bounced back a little bit. Obviously the last episode was pretty appalling for him. But the rest of the weekend is wet track, so that could potentially be quite interesting. We did pretty well in wet track with the historical challenges yesterday, so hopefully that can transfer over. So we'll head into qualifying and hopefully we can try and make it another pole position. So then we're here in qualifying now. We need to put on a oh yes, obviously it's a well, I was about to say we need to put on a fresh set of softs, but medium is what we've got. So actually, since it's wet track, I'll fast forward to near the end of the session and then head out and do my lap then. So I'm out then. Right near the end of the session, 2.5 minutes to go. 33.1 currently is pole position by Baldassarri, but actually we're probably out still a slight bit too early. I feel like they might be able to trounce our times right at the end. We'll find out though as we go into Doon Corner. Obviously this circuit in the wet is such a different animal to in the dry because it's such a high speed circuit, which obviously through a lot of the high speed corners you can kind of still be pretty fast for them, but then you've got to be really careful when you've got to slow down for some of the slower corners. Because obviously you're still approaching them at a very, very high speed, then you need to really slow the bike down. So we're going personal best in the first sector, obviously, because we haven't done a lap yet. 0.2 off as we hit the brakes for the Honda hairpin, so we don't want to go in too hot. We've actually done that not too badly there. Still got a bit of memories from doing hitting us off there in the historic challenges. As we flick the bike left into Siberia, then we've gone a bit wide through Siberia. Obviously so called that apparently because it's very cold around that corner. So still over 2.5 down on Baldassarri, so it looks like we perhaps haven't got the pace here. So go through turn 8 on the power, back on the power again. Through Lukey Height, we've probably got a little bit wide through Lukey Height, but not the end of the world, it's still okay as we go towards the MG corner. We're now 23 thousandths underneath Baldassarri's time as we back it out of MG, sliding that rear tyre. I think we're a bit quicker than they are in the last sector. Jorge Navarro, our teammates, had a crash then, so 1:17 to go. As we're coming towards the last corner, Andy Farad Istar's crashed as well, so a few crashes at the end of this qualifying session. Out of turn 12, then on the power, we're probably in the wrong gear actually as we go towards the line, so this could affect us massively as we go towards the line. Then is it going to be pole position? Yes it is, by half a second almost there, so we gain massive time in the last sector. 32.611. All these AI coming out, there's not going to be enough time to set a lap, so we'll head back to the pits and hopefully this will be good enough for pole at the end of the session. So then it was still good enough for pole position at the end of the session, but only by 1/10 of a second. So Remy Gardner in second, who must have gone through after we went over the line and set second position, because obviously Baldassarri's time is still what's there, what was pole before for third place. So unfortunately for Remy Gardner then, we denied him his home pole position. Would have been fantastic obviously for him to get pole at his home race. I'm guessing the crowd probably not too happy with us there, but I did set my lap beforehand. Councilman Daniel in 8th, Xavi Vierge 5th. Bit of a mess up grid here, or it's not too bad, she's going a bit further down, but Xavi Vierge, that's the highest I've seen him up the order, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Obviously he's on a Calyx, he's a pretty good rider, so it'll be interesting to see what he can pull off. So down here on the grid then, Remy Gardner alongside us on the front row, same with Baldassarri. So it's usually Baldassarri starting second with us there, but Remy Gardner, he's been there or thereabouts in a couple races, he's had decent pace, so it's definitely possible he could get away and win. He was very fast at Catalunya, if I remember correctly. Him and Nagashima came through the pack. Probably if I hadn't held him up so much, perhaps he would have had an outside shot at the victory. But I held him up, which allowed Nagashima to get ahead of him, because Nagashima would have probably had to have hunted him down otherwise. But we did manage to beat him in that race, of course. So hopefully we can try and beat him again here in Australia. But I'm sure he'll have the home crowd right behind him, and he's not going to make it easy for us. So Luti's still there in 4th place as well. Didn't notice that, so obviously we've got to watch out for Luthi. But I've got my eye on Xavi Vierge here. I feel like he might surprise me. Lights and away we go here then. Off the start, bit of a wheelie. Are we going to keep the lead? Seems like we actually have as we go towards the first corner, Doon Corner. Baldassarri's already got past Gardner as we go into the first corner then. Obviously the first couple of sectors I'm not as fast as the AI it seems. so they might be trying to attack me early days in this race here. Although they do tend to be a bit nervous off the line. I'm just trying to look after the rear tyre here, because I know what happens. Last couple of wet races I've really dropped through the order due to tyre wear. 0.3 of a second lead then on Baldassarri as we go towards Stoner's corner. Looking behind, he's definitely going to gain on us a bit if he's not too scared to slide that rear tyre. Vierge is already down to 7th, so perhaps I was a bit wrong about, you know, expecting something great from him, but you never know. Be interesting to see what happens later on. It's a crash. Sam Lowes is down. Sam Lowes has crashed here in Australia then. Wonder if he's crashed with anybody else. It doesn't seem that way, but then it doesn't always tell you if someone else has crashed, so definitely, you know, could be on the cards that someone else has crashed with him. Luti's now down to 10th, so perhaps he had contact with Luti. I'm not too sure, because Luti was higher up before that. As we go through Lukey Heights then, what's the gap to Baldassarri behind? We can see the gaps are stretching out a little bit. I'm just really trying to look after the rear tyre. I don't want the rear tyre to die and me to have absolutely no grip. So we've got 0.4, almost half a second on Baldassarri. And we're going towards the last sector where I have had the pace over the AI the entire weekend. Seems like the AI are a little bit bugged into the last corner. They seem to leave the door open and go quite slow through it. So as we go into the last corner then, trying to build the power in a much better gear than we were at qualifying. The rear sliding out. Digi Antonio up to 4th place ahead of Gardner. So Digi Antonio come in as well. As we come up towards the line then at the end of the first lap, what's the gap going to be? 0.7 of a second ahead of Baldassarri, and then Schrotter, and then Digi Antonio, then Gardner, top 5. So then coming up towards the line at the end of the second lap, what's the gap now? 34.8 on that lap. We're now 1.3 seconds ahead of Baldassarri. Oh, there's a crash. Bo Benschneider's gone down. Looks like at Lukey Heights, so that's probably quite a massive crash for him there. Dixon in 13th, while it looks as if hopefully Jake Dixon can try and get in the top 10. So as we come up towards the line at the end of the third lap then, I think Digi Antonio's got up into 3rd place, so new fastest lap once again, and we're now 2 seconds ahead of Baldassarri. So as we're about to start the penultimate lap then, 1:33.8, so still a new fastest lap to me there. Obviously we are getting quicker every lap. 2.2 seconds now ahead of Digi Antonio in 2nd, who's now done the fastest lap, so it's a speed up 1-2, but what order they're going to finish in. So coming up towards the line then to start the final lap, it looks like we've probably got a decent enough gap over Digi Antonio. New fastest lap once again, 1.7 seconds. So obviously Digi's going to have gone faster. Marini's now gone faster, 32.8. Wow, Marini is so much faster than me, but he's so far down the order. Nothing he can do. So we've just got to bring it home because I think Digi won't be able to catch us now. There's a crash. It's Augusto Fernandez. Augusto Fernandez has gone down. Oh, and Jorge Navarro has been collected as well, but it's actually only 1.2 seconds to Digi now, so he might mean business here. The rear sliding so much through the last corner, but we're just going to hold on. Coming up towards the line, then we're going to win here in Australia ahead of our teammates, so it's going to be a speed up 1-2 down under. Wow, so Luca Marini 32.4 right at the end of the race there, so unbelievably quick. Once again showing that right at the end of these wet weather races, he always saves his tyre and he's always got the pace, but he was just too far down. He lost too much time at the beginning and he couldn't bring it back. So Luca Marini really has thrown away an opportunity at a good haul of points there, and he's not had one for a long time, so it'd definitely have been nice for him to get one. So Joey Vierge finished 17th, so I was definitely wrong about my prediction with him. Did we get any? Wow, we have got a lot of retirement. Sam Lowes, Stefano Manzi, Andy Farad, Isdar, Bo Benschneider, Jorge Navarro and Augusto Fernandez. So many people out of the race. Interestingly though, Tom Luti finished 16th place and Baldassarri finished 3rd, which means he's gained 16 points on us. If we have a look at the championship, they're actually quite close. Only 9 points between the two of those now. Pretty close, pretty close. It's actually 11, sorry. 11 points between them, but 2 rounds to go. That's achievable. So Baldassarri could still end up with 2nd in this championship, yet Schrotter could end up with 2nd in this championship, but a little more unlikely because obviously he's 21 points down. Digi Antonio moves back up into 8th in the championship, so he's actually only 1 point behind Navarro now after that really good result. So Navarro and Digi Antonio are pretty close in the championship over the course of this entire season. They've actually almost scored the same amount of points, which is crazy to think about. And I've got I've got over 200 more than both of them, which again is quite funny. So the battle for, well, 3rd place anyway is definitely hotting up because Marini's 7 points back of Schrotter, who's only 10 points back of Baldassarri, so it could be any of those guys for 3rd, and technically for 2nd as well, but it's between Baldassarri and Luti for 2nd more likely. And Baldassarri on his recent form definitely could have a shot at beating Luti there, which would be a pretty big blow to Luti overall, I think. So then in the Constructors' Championship with 90 points left up for grabs, we are champions. Whether we won it in the previous race or not, I'm not actually sure, because I didn't like try and work it out, but I know there's 2 races left. Obviously the maximum they can gain on is 45, but that's 90 points then that they can gain total, which is obviously less than 165. So at this point, we are the Constructors' Champions, regardless of what happens. Whether we won it in the last race, I don't know. I didn't actually check. Didn't want to do the maths for that or anything like that. So Liquid Moly Intact GP in second position there. Sky VR 46 in third. But again, it's a pretty close battle between these three. It could be any of those three for third in the Constructors. It's definitely interesting to take a look. Obviously, only 9 points separating the three of them. And obviously with Teams Championships, there can be pretty big swings. So yeah, it really is any of their games. So on board with Kazma Daniel then at the Honda hairpin. Lowe's on his inside. You can see Lowe's just loses the front. Takes out Kazma Daniel. And whether that collected anybody else, I don't think that collected Nagashima, did it? Oh, it collected Andy Farad Istahart. Ooh, that's those guys. All three down there. I think there's someone else skidding. I think that's Manzi that's down as well. So I'll have to have a look at one of those point of views. So on board with Istahar then, you can just see the crash just happens, and all of a sudden Daniel's bike is in front of him and there's nothing he can do about it, and you can see an MV Augusta skidding down the road as well there. On board with Manzi then, he was right near the back. You just see, oh, he hits Lowe's bike actually, just couldn't avoid it, unfortunately. So it seems like Lowe's has caused a bit of a pile up there at the Honda hairpin. On board with Navarro here then, into Doohan's corner, up the inside comes Corsi, hits him wide, onto the tarmac runoff, high sides as he tries to get back on the circuit. I think his bike might have come across and collected someone, and look how much it's tumbling. Wow, Corsi should definitely have a penalty for that. Well, obviously there's no penalties for the AI, but wow, that was really a needless move there. And this is how Augusto Fernandez crashed, once again coming towards Doohan's corner, and he just rams Nagashima at the back and goes tumbling into the gravel. Very fast place to crash, and he's fell through the map! He's fell through the map! His riders fell through the map! And on board with Raffin, that's Navarro crashing in the front, and oh, the bike just slides through, takes out Raffin, and here we're about to collect someone else as well. Yep, they just go absolutely smashing into the NTS. Oh, it's Nicolo Bulega as we come through Doohan's corner, and you can see the massive crash, and the bike goes flying up in the air, the Navarro bike, and he's probably distracted by that, smacks straight into Raffin's. So once again, my rider seems dirty, even though I never crashed or anything like that. Perhaps it's because I was looking at other riders in the replay that had crashed, and it mistakenly thought that my rider had crashed and made the leathers dirty. This fell on the slowing down lap, but yeah, I didn't crash at all the entire weekend, which is so I don't know why the rider's muddy, but there you go. I suppose it doesn't particularly matter. Another win under our belt. It was a pretty dominant victory, really. I thought Digi Antonio might catch us right at the end, but he wasn't able to. Luckily for us, another lap he definitely would have done, but luckily I managed to fend him off for that last lap. But on the reputation front then, we gained 11,550, which brings us up to 263,450. And on the credits front, we gained 6,028, which takes us back over the 200,000 threshold again to 203,317 credits. So obviously, since those races are like basically a week apart, the next thing to do is just to head straight into Malaysia. There's no notifications or anything like that, so I'll see you after I've done my lap in free practice. So at the end of that practice session then, we were fastest by 1 second ahead of Lorenzo Baldassari in second place, and almost exactly the same to Luti in third. Luti only a few hundredths behind Baldassari. It seems like quite a close order. I was a bit worried because Lowe's was fastest when I did the lap, and I was 2.6 seconds faster than the lap he set, so I was a little worried, but luckily the AI are a bit quicker than that. Is he still down there with that 2.6 seconds slower time? Yes, he is in 19th place, so he didn't manage to improve his time, unfortunately. So we'll head into qualifying now, and hopefully we can try and get pole position. I am very comfortable here. So we're here in qualifying then. Once again, like in practice, it is cloudy, which means the tyres shouldn't get too shredded when we do the laps, because usually the rear tyre is shredded even after one qualifying lap. It's absolutely destroyed, so hopefully it'll all be good with the cloudy weather. The race is going to be sunny, so I'm definitely going to go for a hard rear. You can't go for anything else, really. A medium would wear out too much. A soft, you may as well just, retire on the first lap, because it literally is it is shot after the first lap. Like, it is so warm after the first lap, it literally tears itself apart over the next couple of laps and you are done. And that's with the realistic setting. I don't know about proportional. Proportional is probably gone after about a lap, to be honest. So over the line then, as we go towards the first corner. Malaysia's one of those tracks that I just really like it. I don't know why I've always liked it. I just have. I've always liked it. I've always been pretty fast here as well. And I don't even mean compared to the AI, I just mean in general, sort of like when I do league races and stuff, I'm usually up there at Malaysia. Even if I wasn't the rest of the season, I'll be pretty competitive in Malaysia, it seems. So 3/10 underneath the pole time at the minute, but obviously we don't know who set that. It's nice to go back out at the start of the session again. We've obviously had to go out at the end of the session quite a bit. We've lost our lap for that. I'm sure I didn't actually go off the circuit, so we'll have to head back into the pits then, or we'll just restart the lap because the tyres aren't too worn. So as we come up towards the line then to start again, I'm going to have to do the lap in power mode 1 because I've not got enough fuel. Obviously if the time is terrible then I'll have to just go out and do another one, because it's not like I need a lot of soft rear tyres, is it, since I'm using a hard in the race. So we've got 1 lap of fuel left, so we might actually have to put it down into 0 at some point throughout this lap, but I'm not too sure. Hopefully we'll have the pace to still go top anyway, because I'm like I said, I'm very comfortable at this circuit. The only problem I do have with the circuit is that corner I lost my lap on. It's always been a little bit dodgy in terms of the track limits. I don't think they're quite correctly done there. Like, it's always very harsh. Like, even if you do genuinely corner cut, you get a massive penalty, which is, I always think, is a little harsh because you don't gain much from it. I think it's fair that you get a little one, but you get like a massive, like 1.5 second one. But then also sometimes I feel like at that corner you can actually still stay on the curb and lose your lap. I probably went over the curb. I can't really, I don't know until I look back at the footage. Obviously, I thought I wasn't going to go over the curb. Obviously, I wouldn't go over it on purpose because I know I'd lose my lap. So yeah, I thought I wasn't over it, but I must have been. Unless it was just a little bit dodgy, but it's not the end of the world. We're still going red at this point. As we go towards the hairpin now, who's ahead of us? It's Jorge Navarro, our teammate. I thought it looked like another pink bike ahead of us, so hopefully we can try and catch him up. Be interesting to see if the speed up is still the pink variant when they bring out the new skins, which should be out very soon, because they said the end of May, of course. I mean, I've not got an issue if they have to delay it. If they have to delay it till June or whatever, that's fine. That's perfectly fine by me, because I think they've already done a fantastic job to even get the game out in April. But we're a second under the time now. Navarro is currently 3rd place, so Navarro seems to be doing a little bit better then in this session today. You can see the rear tyre is a bit worn now. If you look at the temperature, it's quite warm. It is cooling on this straight. We've got 0.3 of a lap left as we go towards the last corner, so I think we'll be okay. So luckily we didn't have to use 0 on this lap, although don't want to speak too soon, I suppose. Navarro is still 3rd, so no one's displaced him yet, but I suppose I'll be putting him down to 4th in a second. As we got towards the line, I can actually use power mode 2 to try and get us just that little last run to the line then. 2:02.7 takes us to the top of the timesheets, guessing that knocks Navarro down to 4th place. So we'll head back to the pits then, and hopefully that is pole position still at the end of the session. So yes, that was absolutely good enough still for pole position. 1.2 seconds clear of Baldassarri in 2nd and Schrotter in 3rd. They're both 1.2 seconds off. Luti another 2/10 back in 4th place, and Dalla Porta a further 2/10 back in 5th. Let's have a look where Navarro finished. Navarro ended up 11th. So he was actually 3rd when we set the lap, and we knocked him down to 4th, but he ended up 11th. So Navarro, unfortunately, there not quite having the pace of us. Was Di Giannantonio even in this top half? I don't think so. So that's definitely going to help Navarro out, because obviously he's battling Di Giannantonio for that position in the championship. So we're heading to the race now. Hopefully we should be able to pull away and get a pretty easy win, since obviously it is Malaysia. The AI are usually pretty bad here. So then, obviously, with it being Malaysia and it being sunny weather for the race, we have to go for the hard rear tyre. I've still gone for the soft front because I think the front can hold out. I can definitely push a bit more through the rear anyway, because the hard rear doesn't actually quite wear out before the end of the race, I don't think. So I can always put a little bit more through the rear if I need to, which is nice, because usually I don't have that luxury. You usually have to try and push the front more to save the rear. I don't really want a repeat of the last race, although we still won, so if that was to happen, it wouldn't be the end of the world, I suppose. So let's get this race started and hopefully try and bring home another win here in Malaysia. Be interesting to see how Kazma Daniel and Siren do. I only say that because I can see Kazma Daniel a couple of rows behind, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets a good result here in Malaysia. Lights out and away we go. Bit of a wheelie off the line, shifting down into power mode 1. We've got the lead looking behind us. We've got quite a big lead actually as we go towards the first corner. So I'm going to just try and pull away, although I've gotten a bit hot into turn 1, although it's actually not the end of the world. There's been a crash behind. It's Happy Siren, so I think I might have cursed him there. Oh! Baldassarri's absolutely dived underneath. So Baldassarri's taken the lead. He's took me completely off guard there. Wasn't expecting that. Obviously the AI lines being a bit different definitely caught me off guard. I've got to try and get this rear tyre up to temperature. But Baldassarri, I was too busy looking at Siren's name and just thinking about how he might have crashed there. That's allowed Baldassarri to take the lead, but we should, considering the amount of pace we have, be able to get back in front of him. Another crash. Jesko Raffin's now down. Or is it Jesko Raffin? I'm not 100% sure how it is pronounced. Oh, the rear is really sliding. I really need to get some temperature into this rear tyre. You think at Malaysia you wouldn't have an issue with that particularly, but on the first lap I do tend to sometimes have a bit of heating issues with the hard tyre. We're already gaining massively on Baldassarri because it's the first sector where they're actually the closest to my time. So under the bridge, hitting the brakes for the hairpin then. It's usually where you can gain quite a bit of time. The rear again, stepping out through there. Maybe I've actually got a bit too much heat through it. I don't know yet, but it still seems pretty green, which is what you'd want ideally. I'm still trying to get it to turn. So perhaps this wasn't the best tyre choice, but I was just thinking, oh, another crash. There's so many crashes. Luti's now down. So Luti has had a really dreadful part of the season ever since, to be honest, since I was about to wrap up the championship. So Aragon was the round before we wrapped it up. That's where his bad luck really started. He had that crash, obviously, that Baldassarri sort of caused, but also, actually, I think it was kind of his fault because he saw Baldassarri on the inside and just carried on turning towards him. But ever since then, I don't think he's actually finished a race in the points. And Baldassarri is only 11 points behind him, so if he continues, well, winning the race, he's definitely going to overtake him in the championship. So Baldassarri dropped down to about 3rd or 4th in the championship at one point. Looked like it was going to be the most miserable campaign ever. Yes, he's lost the championship, but 2nd is still on the cards, which, after the season he had, I would take that if I was Baldassarri. He's crashed out of so many races. He's through at least 100 points away over the course of this season. And, to be honest, to be in 2nd position in the championship still after that would be fantastic for him. And he's still leading this race here, even though I've had to pace the entire weekend. So we need to try and find a way past him as soon as we can. But it is a bit more interesting, of course, to be battling with him. This tyre is still not heated up yet, so I think the hard tyre choice might have been actually the wrong one. But I felt like a medium would shred. Maybe they've changed the tyre heating in an update or something. But as we're looking around the outside of Baldassarri and trying to get the power down, on the inside now we go. We've taken the lead. If we can get it to turn, I think he might be able to get back underneath us. No, we can't. So we've taken the lead now here in Malaysia, and it's about trying to pull out the gap here. So coming up towards the line then at the end of the 2nd lap here, 2:03.6, 1.1 seconds ahead of Baldassarri, so we should have this in the bag. We should be able to just keep pulling away from him now. There's a crash. Balega's gone down again. So at the end of that lap then, 2:03.8. Stefano Manzi's crashed as well with 2.8 seconds in the lead, and Lowe's is up to 3rd place. So Lowe's, even after that dreadful qualifying, not dreadful qualifying, the dreadful practice, although the qualifying wasn't great, he's really got the race pace here, and he's actually up to 3rd, and hopefully he can pass Baldassarri. It'd be nice to have a Brit 1-2. So as we come to the end of this lap then, to start the final one, 2:04.2, what are the positions looking like? Lowe 2nd, Digi 3rd, Navarro 4th, and then Baldassarri down in 5th place now. So the speed-ups and the Brits are coming through to the front here. So we could get a speed-up 1-2-3 here. I'm not sure what I'd want more, a Brit 1-2 or a speed-up 1-2-3. Both would be great, to be honest. And we already had a speed-up 1-2 in the first race, so speed-up have really been doing well in this episode. Obviously, I've been sort of dragging them up the entire season, but my teammates equally are doing a great job this episode, and obviously Lowe's did used to ride a speed up as well, so it's either current or former speed up riders are doing well in this episode. Braking for the last corner then, it seems like Lowe's just hung on to 2nd position there, so it's going to be a Brit 1-2 here in Malaysia. He's actually got quite a bit of a gap to the 2 speed ups behind, but speed up have done fantastically well here. We'd won the Constructors' Championship before, we're going to dominate it now after this one. So a dominant performance in that race, and it does beg the question of what tyres did Baldassarri use, because obviously he did hit the front initially, but that was just because he caught me totally off guard. I was looking at Siren, apparently it crashed, and then obviously my tyre wasn't quite up to temperature, so that allowed him obviously to get to the front and pull away a little bit, but then he's dropped back through the order to 5th. In fact, he went from 2nd to 5th in literally one lap. I saw the overtakes happen, Lowe's overtook him, and then I saw that Digi and Navarro were coming through. They were overtaking that Bastianini, and they were on their way. And then they both overtook Baldassarri as well. So the speed-up's doing fantastically here. And I think I did make a comment earlier on, before the race, that Digi Antonio not qualifying very well. He wasn't even in Q2. And Navarro was going to gain good points on him. Well, they've finished very close together, but Digi's actually finished ahead. So I think Digi's going to leapfrog ahead of Navarro. And with Baldassarri in 5th place, I think he's actually going to still be behind Luti in the championship. So there's all to play for in the final round. Oh no, I was slightly wrong actually. I was a point off. Baldassarri and Luti tied on points going into the final round. 13 points ahead of Marcel Schrotter. So the 2nd position in the championship is definitely between the two of them. We're 178 points ahead now. Digi Antonio now 2 points clear of Navarro. So a few battles to watch out for then in that final round. We'll see where Sam Lowe's has got up to. I'm guessing he's got up to 10th again. Yeah, he's been back ahead of Remy Gardner. Lowe's, he's not been that great this season, but he's had a couple of good finishes. So looking at the Constructors' Championship now, we now nearly have a 200-point lead. Obviously, with Tom Luti slipping off in that race, that's going to have cost them quite a few points. And that battle rages on between SkyVR46, IO Moto 2 and HP40. They're all so close, 4 points separating the three of them now. It's anyone's game in the last round, so we've definitely got to watch out for that team's championship because, well, in real life I suppose there'd probably be prize money involved with that if I'm not mistaken. There'd probably be quite a bit of money separating those three places, so you definitely want the motivation to try and get to that third in the Constructors. So if we have a look what happened to Siren, then into turn 1, oh, he gets clipped by, I think it might be Chantra or it might be Andy Farad Istihar, I'm not 100% sure, it's one of the Honda Team Asia boys. It was Istihar, so round the outside he goes. Siren sort of drifting onto his line, but once again, one of those things where Istihar could have easily sat up and avoided that incident. Just one of those things at turn 1, you actually have to watch out for people on your inside. And that's both races, he's actually been involved in a crash with someone else, and I think that's actually him out in both of them, so he's not had a very good episode. Marini also having a crash there, so slow this down. He flicks the bike over, he clips Remy Gardner, and down he goes. So a couple of crashes then at the first couple of corners here in Malaysia, although that was a very slow speed crash, so I'd be surprised if Marini retired. He did, he actually retired, okay. It's quite surprising. So on board with Tom Luthi then, he's coming into this corner, power on the curb, high side. Oh, that's a nasty little crash for Tom Luthi, and that really sums up his season as of late anyway. Lots and lots of crashes, and he was out as well, so many retirements from these crashes here. So this is Balega and Manzi. Obviously we saw that those two went down, and it just seems to be one of those things where he just gained massively on him, just sort of hit him at the back. The AI don't seem to pull out of the slipstream and overtake, they just hit the guy in front, and the bikes absolutely go tumbling in, and watch this, they get straight back on, even though the people with the tiny crashes didn't. It makes no sense, this game, sometimes. So once again, me and Digi in Parc Ferme together, so that's both times this episode, we've both been in here at the same time. Obviously third place for him this time, second place before, and Lowe's is in here as well, so it's nice to see two Brits and two speed-ups in here, and all either current or former speed-up riders in this Parc Ferme. A very interesting episode to say the least. Obviously Luthi has had a terrible one, which has actually now allowed Baldassarre to be equal on points with him. So on the reputation front then we gained 11,550, which brings us exactly to 275,000 reputation points, which is a really nice number. I really like how round that is. And once again the credits taking us over the 200,000 threshold to 204,320 credits, with the usual 6,028. So then, absolutely no notifications here once again. I think I touched on this in Moto 3, that at this point of the season you don't really get much. There's obviously the engine still to upgrade. I mean, if I'm going to bother doing that, I don't think I'm going to bother, because there's literally no point me doing it, since there's one race left and it's going to take more than 1 week, because I'm guessing the race is literally next week. So there's literally 0 point upgrading that last bit of the engine. It's just a bit of a waste of time, to be honest. I might do it anyway in the next episode, I don't know, because then we could give Speed Up a slightly better bike as a send-off, but the bike was basically great as soon as we got... Well, I got pole in the first race and got third in it, and Navarro got second, so the bike was good when we jumped on it, even though it was supposed to not be very good. But I hope you have enjoyed that episode. Obviously, it wasn't as exciting as some of the other ones have been. There's been some fantastic racing this season, so sometimes you might get races that can seem a little bit more boring, such as pulling away at the front, which basically this episode was. It was two of the AI's really bad tracks, so that's kind of what you're going to get. Next race out at Valencia, they are pretty stunning, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do probably beat me there. I probably won't be able to overhaul them in Valencia, but I'm not too bothered. We've won the championship by a massive margin, obviously a few rounds ago, so I was just trying to get as many wins as I can. So in the next episode then, we will be doing Valencia, and then hopefully signing for a MotoGP team. But I'll leave all that kind of stuff till the next episode, because obviously there will only be the one race, so I need to obviously make sure that it's not too short of a video. I've obviously got to try and decide which team I want in plenty of time. So like I said, I hope you did enjoy that one. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you're all staying safe, and I shall see you in the next video.